Okay, so let me share my screen and we will get to the presentation. Again, my name is Nancy Reamer with Reviva Labs, and welcome to our August webinar, which is titled Into the Lab. There we go. Okay, into the laboratory. So just to remind you all, we are Reviva Labs and we're nearly 50 years old. So we've been doing this a very long time, and we have always been committed to using the highest quality ingredients that are both safe and effective for attracting our customers. And we've had customers that are anywhere from 20 years old to God knows how old. We just have, are able to enjoy a very loyal customer base for many, many years. And we appreciate that. And we look forward to creating more products. And that's what our topic is today, because we thought it might be interesting to talk about how a product makes it to market. It can be a long process, lots of twists and turns, but ultimately when a brand gets it right, a new product can really take off and ultimately have a really long shelf life with the brand. And we certainly have a few of those in our collection. So speaking of our collection, to bring this whole product journey to life, we thought that we would share what happened when we recently launched a new product at Reviva, and it's called Calming Renewal Serum. So anyway, here we go. Step one. It may sound a little simple, but the first step in developing a new product is to start with a really good idea. And a good idea from a product can come from a variety of sources, such as new scientific advances, like peptides back in the day, or time-release delivery systems, or innovative ingredients that a brand may want to try, like niacinamide or bee pollen, or believe it or not, snail mucin, which is a brand new ingredient used in some trends. And speaking of trends, they also inspire a good idea for a brand, or consumer preferences. When you see the tide turning to a certain way that certain products that consumers are demanding. So that could be vegan-based skincare, travel face masks, or hydrating pillowcases. I don't know, it can come from anywhere. So we are constantly looking and examining the field for what's out there and deciding whether or not that works for our brand. So with developing Calming Renewal Serum, our initial ideas were that we wanted to use some of the new, more unique ingredients that were surfacing out there on the landscape. And we also wanted to take advantage of some skincare trends that I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. But those are the two things that we were focusing on: ingredient and trend. So, So the next step to consider by a brand is if the product that you were thinking of developing really reflects the company's objectives, or the brand's DNA, if you will, as well as what the consumer expects of the brand. So for example, one of our core principles at Reviva for the nearly 50 years we've been around is to formulate products with new, clean, and effective ingredients that will have benefits at a reasonable price. That may sound simple, and you hear me say that monthly, but can you imagine if we went outside of our brand DNA and said, you know what, we're going to launch a new product with all these new ingredients, but it's going to cost, $125, and yeah, you make your skin look nice. That wouldn't work. No, it has to be very effective ingredients that deliver the benefit that we say it will at a reasonable price. We've had that guiding principle since the beginning. So step 3, once you know that, you have a bit of an idea, you incorporated your DNA, Then comes a marketing brief. And a marketing brief defines the product in some different terms. So, for example, it would define it in terms of the claims we want to be able to make. And that does refer to the benefits that the customer will receive. How the product answers a customer's specific need. How the product may fit into a trend. But other details of a marketing brief would also include the product formulation. Is it going to be a cleanser, a creamy cleanser, a gel cleanser, a moisturizer that is more of a lotion, or is it a denser, deeper cream? Its desired function. What do we want it ultimately to do? And the color, the odor, the texture, and the size that we want to sell. So lots to consider in a marketing brief. So sometimes during this development phase, you have a great idea and a brand discovers that the original idea, what they wanted, isn't going to pan out the way we had hoped. And of course, correction is necessary. So for example, with calming renewal serum, it was originally supposed to be a CBD product. So, and at the time that we were in development, we're thinking about this product, there were all these skincare brands, our competitors who were launching CBD oil-based skincare products. It was a huge trend. So we thought we'd develop one too. Unfortunately, after our team did a deep dive into hemp CBD oil and hemp seed oil, we decided not to hop on that CBD bandwagon. So here are some reasons why. So hemp seed oil, which is what calming renewal serum does use, is an extract from the seeds of a hemp plant. A CBD oil product is an extraction from either the stalks, the stems, or the flowers of a hemp plant. Hemp seed oil contains no CBD, THC, or any other cannabinoids. CBD oil does contain some levels of CBD, and at least, and I believe it has to have at least less than 0.3% THC. The main benefits are sort of similar. The seed oil is just dense in amino acids and antioxidants and essential fatty acids. It's known for its anti-inflammatory properties to reduce redness and the ability to moisturize the skin, keep it nicely hydrated. And it's been used in the industry for decades. CBD oil, the newer trend, is also known for its anti-inflammatory and soothing benefits to the skin. However, since it does contain THC, it's commonly used for more medicinal purposes to relieve pain, topical pain, a topical ingredient that relieves pain, and in some cases reduces anxiety. So while each ingredient can be effective, it was clear that the CBD oil brought along too much controversy for us. So instead, we redirected our team to look into the product ideas popular with different skincare trends, like K-beauty with its focus on glowing or glass skin, and the ancient trend of using Ayurvedic medicinal herbs like turmeric or ashwagandha. So that's a little bit of a background on that product. So step 4 is really formulation. And once we identify the new ingredients we want, it's time to formulate the product. Now, formulating is an art. It involves a clear vision of what the brand wants, combined with the talent of a chemist or a formulator, and a clear knowledge of the regulations that have to be followed to bring this product to market. So generally, a large global brand like Reviva will have in-house labs and chemists and product formulators on staff. Smaller, privately owned brands usually work with a trusted third-party formulator who can either build a recipe from scratch or who may have pre-made recipes with a good base that can be tweaked to the product specifications. Think of a cake mix, if you will, that you get off the shelf at a supermarket. You can buy a plain mix and then you can add your own flavoring, your own coloring, and the icing to get to what you believe is your idea of a great cake. That's what it's like to go to a third party. So next is regulations. Regulations play a big part in formulating a new product. There are certain guidelines that a formulation team has to adhere to. So things like fragrance, color additives, preservatives can all come with a list of regulations that must be followed. Additionally, a brand will have their own set of regulations or a list of must be free of ingredients that their consumers expect or demand. So just one example for Reviva was we wanted to see what alternatives were out there for one of our preservatives, phenyloxyethanol. We still use phenyloxyethanol, but we thought, you know what, let's move to what else we can find out there that would maybe be a little cleaner and provide, a must be free of that we sometimes encounter when we're dealing with our retailer partners. So we've done that, but that's something that has to be considered during the formulation process. So as you can imagine, the journey gets a little bumpy. Hey, hang on 1 minute. Okay, so when we were formulating calming renewal serum, we knew what we wanted now. We wanted to use a combination of the wish list ingredients that was not CBD oil, but hemp seed oil. And then we also we considered other trends. So we're like, okay, we liked what we saw, what was happening in the K-beauty trend, Korean beauty, where there's a use of a variety of natural oils that soothes redness. And we also like the idea of natural plant extracts, which is sort of where our heritage is. But these natural plant extracts we were interested in were more from the Ayurvedic medicinal background with herbs like turmeric and ashwagandha that had interesting benefits for the skin. So we gave that wish list ingredients to our formulation team. The brand requirements were that we wanted it to be a gel serum that could be used under any of our moisturizers, not just the moisturizers in the collection where we would probably keep it, which is the revitalizing section. We want the product claim to be that your skin would see a renewal and your complexion would appear more radiant and youthful. And then there's always the cost guidelines. We cannot cost more than, if you will, that we would give to the team. So these new versions, there are many versions that were developed of calming renewal serum, as there is with any new product. And they're done for comparison purposes. So each version would have all the agreed upon requirements, but be slightly different in the execution. And that's by design. Think of it as a beloved family. Again, I'll go back to the cake recipe. Everyone in the family makes the same beloved recipe, but it comes out slightly different depending on who made it. So we go through cycles. And then it goes out to the staff within Reviva. So we all try these versions. And we test them. Super, super important step in formulation. You need feedback. It is so key because if you think about it, everyone on the Reviva team more or less represents a different consumer, right? So each person who tests it has a different skin type. They may be a different age. So their skin would be at a different stage. How their skin reacts to it would be thought of. And what does it feel like? What is the scent? Because some people are highly sensitive to scent, other people aren't at all. It's very interesting. So all these unique perspectives would then be recorded, and the feedback is given to our formulators and to go back to the drawing board again. So this sort of explains why it's an art and a science to get a new product exactly right. Not to mention the pitfalls. It takes time. And some of the most common pitfalls of any new product development is that the desired function or benefit isn't met. Basically, the product doesn't deliver. There could be reactions that we didn't realize, or a chemical component based on the collection of ingredients appears, sort of like a third response, because not all ingredients play well together, which can either be that chemical component that comes up, or the product separates or turns a different color or has a different odor than we had anticipated. Sometimes ingredients are just too expensive, so we have to use a substitute. And does that substitute deliver on all those counts? We talked about spoilage issues happen unknowingly. You think you got it right, and then oh my gosh, it starts to disintegrate in the bottle. And last, it's important, but the product application, known as the slip, it doesn't quite absorb right. You're rubbing it in and rubbing it in. You're like, oh, this isn't what we want. So once the formula is set, then we can move on to the next stage. But this sort of explains that bumpy road that I was talking about at the beginning, filled with twists and turns. But once it's set, we move on to the next phase, which is sourcing. So once you have all the ingredients that you like, the product performs as it should, you search for large quantities of the raw materials with which to produce the product. And then you have to purchase these large quantities of the formula. We get big barrels at our warehouse of stuff, just one ingredient that will make X number of products over the course of a year. So it's sort of like that's really behind the curtain on all this product development, but it's a really important part of whether or not you can deliver on this new product, is finding the right ingredients, sourcing them. And then after sourcing is accomplished, the formula has to go through extensive testing, known as quality and compliance. I don't know, I find this really fascinating. I like this more nerdy part of the production. One of the tests is stability. It's an evaluation to ensure that the cosmetic product formula and its packaging are compatible. The product needs to be stable and safe throughout its entire life. So for example, a product may need a glass jar or a bottle. And it needs to be, does it need to be clear, or should it be tinted to protect the stability of an ingredient, sort of like our vitamin C serum? That's sort of why I chose this particular image even, because more amber bottles are usually used to protect volatile ingredients that can be corrupted if they're exposed to sunlight too much. So that's on us to think through, not the consumer. A biological test also has to be done, which takes into consideration the preservative system, which is the best one to use in order to prevent the growth of fungi or bacteria or yeast that can cause cosmetic products to prematurely spoil. Think about it. How many times do you put your finger in that jar? Again, it's on us to protect the product and therefore the consumer's experience. So we have to go through all these testing and make sure that it does comply. And then there's toxicology, a series of tests or a test that ensures the final mixture of all the products doesn't pose a risk. And then we have regulatory requirements that have to be researched and met. And those are slightly different. Ingredients that are for regulatory are checked to be in compliance with different countries. So we ship around the world. So before we can do that, we have to make sure that documents and information about the product are properly submitted and filled out properly, because each country has their own review process. Yeah, so there you have it. So and I like that sort of stuff to make sure it all works. And then the packaging. This is more the fun part. These are the graphic designers and the marketers, sort of collaborate on all this stuff. But this is the components that can be involved to really what you're going to put the product in, if you are. So that includes the actual formula, what that goes in, the product container, like a jar, a tube, a tub that would hold the formula. But then you need the closure. Think about the closure. That's a separate piece. Do you want a pump, a spray, a cap, a twist? So that's a separate thing. Secondary packaging. Often products come in a box, or sometimes there's even more packaging within the box. Then you have to design all the artwork and the color and the graphics. And then there's a corrugated box that larger amounts can be shipped in. So that's all part of product development. Labeling. This is the easy part. We have a whole machine that takes care of this, or several machines that take care of this back in New Jersey. But a label can either be a shrink sleeve or printed, like we do. We print these ourselves directly on the packaging as well as the components, which would be the explanation of the product, the ingredient listing, the how to use it, claim symbols here on the bottom. All those are printed in the brand font, the brand colors, and the graphics are a little flower. So yeah, every single piece has to be done right. And all the colors have to be exactly right too. And then finally, the launch. We're ready to introduce it. So once you have that wonderful new product that meets the customer's needs and all the requirements are met, great packaging, you introduce it. And you introduce it on your own website. You introduce it to the retailers to see if they want to take it in. You introduce it on social media. I work directly with brand ambassadors and influencers and social media sites to get the information and communicate the benefits of this great product that you just developed for the last however many months it took, and get it out there and raise the awareness that we have another brand new product. And you know what? We've been developing new products for a really long time. It's sort of our thing. Because I don't know if you remember the backstory to Reviva, if you've heard me say it before, but Steven Strasser, our founder, was one of the first estheticians in the United States. So his sort of claim to fame was bringing what he saw the estheticians use, all those fancy products behind the, in the wonderful, nice spa. He said, why can't the masses have that? So he developed products that he saw that were salon style and brought them to everybody else in the natural community. So when we've been doing that for 50 years, we've never lost that. Remember I said you have to have the brand DNA? That's our brand DNA, to always be thinking of what does our consumer want? What would make it unique to us, to the marketplace? And we do it. So there you have it. That's how you bring a product to life. I hope that was clear. I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I liked developing that for you. So I'm going to click out of screen share at this time and see what kind of questions you may have. So any questions on all that? And at the same time, parallel, I know I used, let's get rid of this. I use our Calming Renewal Serum, but we also released the Calming Rejuvenation Cream at the same time. We did them sort of simultaneously, which is maybe a little harder because the different components, the different types of formulation would require a different approach, but the idea was the same. We knew we wanted to use the hemp seed oil, use the essential fatty acids that they're known for to benefit for a calming redness and rejuvenating the skin. So I hope you've had a chance to try it. Any other questions out there for me today? Okay. So anyway, it's been my pleasure, as always, to take you on any journey through our product lineup. And please join me next month as well September, go to our website, look for the date, the topic, and hopefully it'll be something that you're interested in. And I'll look forward to seeing you then. Okay, take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.